Beautiful, beautiful. So the show today, I think, will be between half an hour and an hour long. We will try to start with the analytics in the beginning. Hopefully we can block off this part within half an hour, and we will take already questions in between to the specific topics which we're talking about. And in the end, you guys are completely free to give feedback and ask any more question which you would like to know. We can't talk so much about Sentinel's loadouts, which I think is very sad, but we neither have the screenshots nor in the game from the recordings which I did. I basically never pressed tab in this game, besides in the beginning. So we don't know really if the loadouts were justified, if the loadouts were good, if the loadouts maybe can be improved a little bit. This is something we're gonna make better in future. We currently, and I will make myself very strong in this point, that every team has to take screenshots from those games, as this is really important for developing esports, so everyone has the chance of seeing what is picked, which Sentinels are played, so you get a little bit of better feeling specifically for the new teams and for the old teams to let some data and analytics run and see actually where maybe the weak points of those teams are. So we develop esport in general. This is a global goal of this series, and of course to give you guys tools and knowledge into your hand so you can use it for the next upcoming tournaments. Every Monday at 8 o'clock, like today we're a little bit late, but anyway, around 8 o'clock every Monday. We're going to do this from now with different topics and of course different games. So yesterday's match was played on Meridan Gate. You can see it already here beautifully on the screen. I can even technically do it like paint even, you know, paint even on screen. So this is amazing. We need to move this actually. This is, by the way, I'm using an awesome self-developed tool for paint there for doing this. It's amazing. So we're gonna start. I think everyone who followed yesterday's lineup or yesterday's match will approximately know what they played, but we're gonna display it anyway. We have this one, and where's the other side? Give me a second. There we go. So we have on the right side, we have Hamsters of Luck, as it was in the match. On the left side, it has the form of Superman's mark. Yes, by accident. Oh my god, I completely screwed up the secret. Yes, I'm Superman. Everyone knows. So on the left side, fun team. I'm a little bit excited. I'm sorry. It's the first time I'm doing something like this, like in a live environment. So it's a little bit more exciting. Please bear with me. On the left side, for fun team. On the right side, Hamsters of Luck. Hamsters of Luck decided to play Breach, Cobra, Bulwark, Zell, Decima. And on the left side, we have Flatline, Cobra, Valkyrie, Pulsar, and Bulwark as well. So, like from the beginning, when the match started, it was very fast clear that Hamsters of Luck have actually a really well developed strategy. They knew exactly what they want to do, and I believe For Fun Team had as their strategy, of course, in their head as well, but I think they weren't that trained in executing a very specific strategy, like with a specific goal. Hamsters of Luck, with this lineup, they decided to go, how should I say it? So let's start with this. Not sure. I would just start. So they had I think the main goal is to have per lane at least one Sentinel to gather all the experience which is dropped on this lane, and to split push over the sides and through middle lane into the enemy base. This was the goal. So therefore the Sentinel picks, which they did. Their lineup in the map or on the lanes, or however you want to call it, was like, let me see here. It's a little bit messed up here. Wait, Team B. Okay, we're gonna do with Team B. So this was a lineup which they did in the game in the very early stages, and they stick to this lineup very strongly. So this is another proof that they actually had a very strong developed strategy which they wanted to keep. The idea was that Cobra will push over the top lane, Breach will push over the mid lane, and we have in the mid lane Breach on the bot lane. We have in the mid lane Decima, Bulwark, and Zell pushing against the enemy tower, with Bulwark and Decima like a mobile unit to go get those artillery drones, those drones in the jungle, and invade other lanes if it's necessary. On the other side, For Fun team decided very soon after start of the game, decided to counter with this lineup. It was Cobra on top as well, Valkyrie in mid lane, Bulwark and Flatline the mobile unit a little bit. They were used to be in the mid lane, but I think during the game it was pretty obvious very fast that they got a little bit overwhelmed, I think, by the situation, and Bulwark and Flatline were sometimes on bot lane, sometimes in mid lane, sometimes on top lane. So it wasn't like so predefined how Hamsters of Luck were playing. So it was a little bit more hectic, but in general I would say I think I'm correct to say that Cobra top, mid Valkyrie, and bot lane Pulsar, this was kind of like how they arranged themselves in the course of the game. And of course you guys know that even though doing some kills gives you experience, the experience from a lane is very essential to have. So the bans in those games were whatever. Now Patches was moved up. Why is Patches moved up? So that's nice to see. That looks so awesome. I'm very proud of having prepared this. So Patches was banned for Fun team, and Nemesis was banned for Hamsters of Luck. And those team captains then decided to go with those Sentinels. Now, where do we go from here? We have the basics, because now we need to start thinking of which strategies they actually started to use. And I will say it from a point of view from Hamsters of Luck, because again, they were more sticking to the strategy and going from, I think the strategy was more prepared. So they wanted to side push the lanes with Breach and Cobra and have the mid lane, the unit in form of Bulwark, Decima, and Zell. I think the unit Bulwark, Decima, and Zell is a very strong composition for like a mobile unit which roams a map or takes secondary objectives. Zell does good amounts of damage. She is kind of a hybrid of burst and steady DPS. Bulwark has a lot of sustain. Decima provides some more sustain, provides soon possibilities against Sentinels which are getting sieged and which are sieging. So this is very, very satisfying. Of course, we need to talk about Cobra on top lane, which we will try to analyze if it was the best pick or not. We're going to determine this later. And Breach, I think there's no doubt, Breach is one of the strongest pushers currently, and specifically split pusher, which we have currently in the game. And him being on the bot lane, or him being picked anyway, was already a clear choice in a strategy which is evolved around pushing. So if we see now the lineup of For Fun team, if you see Valkyrie and Bulwark already in one team, that kind of puts it very close to say, okay, those boys definitely wanted to go for team fights. They wanted to go for the combo wombo. And it just makes sense to take Pulsar into this mix as well, because you can change those ultimates very strongly, and then you have a lot of damage potential for those team fights. Cobra in the mix, I think, is a good choice as well. You have an assassin, you have a mobile assassin in general. He can go it once Bulwark lands his stun, or even he can engage even with his custom item, with his long range stun on his dagger, so Bulwark can actually move in. Flatline in the mix is, of course, makes very much sense as well, because Bulwark being speed up can get himself into a position far easier than without Flatline speed burst. So now the game started. Hamsters of Luck very fast took down their lanings, and I think from a point of view of a leader, I think he made a very early mistake, or the team itself. I prefer to say leader because I think it's always very important to have someone in the team who is capable of making the hard decisions. To say, okay, guys, shut up, do this and this. Yeah, I prepared myself for this game. If this happens, I will do this. If this happens, I will do this. And this needs to be done in this moment. This can, of course, often backfire, but a leader needs to, of course, to gather experience and get better in leading capabilities as well. But it is important to have a lead. I don't know who this is, and like I said, I don't want to bash this guy or whatever, but I think it's really important to give those feedback so everyone can learn. So the leader decided then, okay, we will put Cobra on top lane, Valkyrie in mid lane, and Pulsar on bot lane. Now, when you see the lineup, when the screen loads, the thing which you need to do in this moment is start thinking, okay, hey, what is the strategy of the enemy team if they have one? If they don't have one, most likely we're going to win. So what is the strategy of the enemy team? And you can see there's a combination of breach. If breach is in the lineup, this is kind of an indication, hey, maybe they will go for split push. They definitely go for push, because team fights with breach is rather difficult to do. So let's look further. Okay, we have breach, we have indication. Okay, they want to go for pushes. They have one Sentinel for pushes. Zell, kind of good pusher. Decima is a very strong support in situations where you siege an enemy objective. Her AoE can provide you like very strong zoom control, because when she puts down her AoE around the enemy tower, everyone needs to run, or they will start getting damage. So it's far harder to defend, also to defend against an enemy push if they have a Decima, because she can stun, she can make your attack stronger, and she can provide zoom control, which makes you run. And when you run, you don't shoot, right? So you don't do damage. So another indication. Okay, breach, Decima already. Then we have Zell in the mix. Zell is not really an indication, although she is a steady DPS. Steady DPS are, of course, the best thing for pushing. Burst isn't really good. Valkyrie and Pulsar, of course, with their long ranges can like backdoor towers. They can do this, but in general, steady DPS is always better for a push, because in the end, it goes faster and it's more constant than with those snipe shots. So that is another indication. Bulwark is just a tank, so this is not really an indication, but the fact that they don't really have those combo wombos in this team is another indication that, hey, Bulwark in the mix, kind of like, okay, so we know already. So Cobra now is a little bit of a special situation. Cobra itself is can be in a lot of teams. His what he needs to do in the game, which means his duties in a game, can vary a lot. So Cobra is an indication, but Breach, Zell, Decima, I think is a very clear indication. So they know already. So then the decision is made, or maybe it wasn't like a direct decision. Maybe they just trained it with this lineup, so they just stick to it. But putting a Cobra on top against another Cobra, when you have the possibility to take there another Sentinel, which will do better, is far better choice. Pulsar, for example, or I think Pulsar actually on top lane would have been a such better choice. Pulsar is weak, of course. He plops a lot, and of course, if Cobra gets on him, well, then you're in trouble, obviously. But Pulsar have a little bit of a dash, so in the moment Cobra moves in, he kind of can move out, and if he teleports in, he can dash out. This is kind of like a counterplay to him. And with your long range abilities, you kind of can keep Cobra steady. Even if you don't manage to kill him because he is so mobile that he will dodge your spells, you can keep the line perfectly at bay. Otherwise, now you have a mirror match where the pure skill decides. You don't want to have equal chances. You never start for equal chances. Yeah, we're going to fight. We want to have equal chances. No, you want to have an advantage. So this is the first mistake, I think, which For Fun team in this situation did. They didn't take away Cobra from top lane and put Pulsar there. Cobra on bot lane, for example, if you would make this one-on-one switch, is very dangerous to Breach. Breach doesn't have a natural escape skill. He has a lot of movement speed if his passive is active, but he doesn't. Also before level 6 nothing, and after level 6 he has his ultimate, which, well, in the current state can be easily dodged, and well, it's not really you get out of prison card. So hello Velis, welcome to the stream. So so that would be a far wiser choice. We can, however, go a little bit further even. We can say, okay, we could put Cobra on bot lane against Breach. This is already an advantage as well. So, you know, that's better than Cobra versus Cobra, which is kind of equal. Then you can, of course, you could put a Bulwark flatline combo on bot lane as well, even with Pulsar. That technically should even work out. Although Valkyrie gets a little bit pressured in mid lane, but with her long range abilities and with high nuke potential, she can stand pretty far in the back and still hold the lane. So again, this is the first mistake they did in this kind of situation, and they should have adapted faster. Now, the mid lane itself, like the combo of Bulwark, Decima, and Zell was very well executed. They were playing very well together. Zell was the one keeping the lane at bay, and Bulwark and Decima always like helped to push the lane, and then strove off to take side objectives. So the reaction didn't really come like from For Fun team. You need to see the game, how it's going, and then you need to analyze what you need to do. The team constellation about For Fun team is, after all, a team combo composition. So what they should have done is to lay back a little bit, wait off the early game, which is so strong with breach pushes on all lines and those sudden split pushes, and then just wait for this combo wombo event. Like, for example, you can push Pulsar in bot lane. He's pushing out. He has the potential to push against the breach if he plays aggressive against breach, and then sorry, in this case Pulsar would have been on top. Maybe we should switch so I'm not getting confused anymore. So team A, Cobra is going, you're going down, bro, and Pulsar is going up, bro. So in this case situations, and because of Cobra's high mobility, he can engage breach very easily, and he, with his slice and dice, once he's aggressive against breach has to leave the lane. He has one medkit, then he has to leave the lane, which gives you like a short time window of free roam on the lane. Cobra can clear the lane very fast with his slice and dice, and then immediately like a lightning move into mid lane, which allows here in mid lane suddenly the combo wombo, even without Pulsar. So that would be a strategy to counter the playstyle from Hamsters of Luck. I'm not sure, however, how Hamsters of Luck would have responded to it, because they were kind of good players too. Most likely they would have just stick with a 3 Sentinel in mid lane, Bulwark, Decima, and Zell, would have just sticked in mid lane, deal with it, yeah, try to survive it, and still push the side lanes. I expect this to be the reaction. So you get somehow an advantage already into mid lane, that maybe you can take mid lane if you have a good engage. Your damage burst potential against those mid laners is higher than what they have. So that would be an idea to switch it around like that, to not be so run around a little bit headless. Now, what I really want to talk about is the decision which Hamsters of Luck did to do the laning which they did. And for this purpose, we're going to reverse it, how it was originally, how it was in the game. So, when they developed their strategy, yeah, of course, Velis. Of course, there are different levels in skill for both teams. Hamsters of Luck, I think, are more experienced in tournaments and stuff like that. But this is the reason why we're doing this a little bit, you know, like helping For Fun team maybe, or anybody else who's in this current position, to learn those things. That's why I'm actually doing. I'm not trying to bash For Fun team. It's trying to give valuable feedback. Me, when I was still esports and a player myself and under contract and stuff, those things always help. I mean, if you're like, oh my god, he's showing me my mistakes, this guy sucks, well, let's be honest, you won't get far. You won't get far in esport, because, you know, like, you need to have those inputs. And I'm just having the names there because it is an example from yesterday which actually really happens. So again, it's not about bashing, it's about providing valuable feedback for everyone to bring the Shards of War play, team play to the next level. But coming back, Hamsters of Luck it was obvious that they have this certain strategy which they want to execute in the game. The lineup is kind of fitting, and the selection of sentinels on the lane is very good as well. But Cobra. Now the thing is, if you have your strategy, you prepare everything. Every single aspect of the game needs to be prepared for the strategy. This means that the strategy needs to be waterproofed. And the reason why you do this is to commit to one strategy, because if you have a good strategy and you're executing it okayish, then this strategy will always win against the better strategy, which is not 100% committed and executed. This is very important to know. So even if everyone knows your strategy, if you commit to your strategy and you execute it good and it's a good strategy, then this strategy will always win. This is very important to know, to see. So we have in this lineup, we have Cobra on top lane. And I had already, of course, several. Hey, Hondik Yoda. Ah, awesome. I'm super nervous today. it's amazing. It's the first guide I'm doing literally live, so I'm really, really nervous. Can't help it. Let's take a sip. We definitely have to have the cigarette after that. I didn't know that I still can get caught by stage fever, but here I am. Okay, so Hamsters of Luck want to push the side lanes, they want to push the lanes and then basically apply pressure on all sides. It's this, I call it always the Hydra strategy. You strike on one side, you get defeated on one side, two other heads or two other lanes are pushing in. This is a danger, of course, for the defending team. So they want to have this push strategy and they want to execute it, and they're doing everything for it. But why is Cobra on top lane? And I know I had already with certain other players the conversation, especially with the Hidden Unicorn team. We were arguing with Nafane, we were arguing, I'm not sure, he's actually not in the channel right now, with Panda, I think we were arguing about this aspect too. And it is 100% true that Cobra has an amazing wave clear capabilities. What Cobra as well has is that any incoming gank can be kind of juked by Cobra. Cobra has a very high mobility and he can do really well in escaping, basically. But Cobra's high mobility and his assassin style and his burst potential is kind of a waste on minions. Does this make sense? He, by not knowing, like for example, Cobra's, when he is not a laner, but he is a roamer, like a ganker, his lane invade is the strongest. It's the strongest. Why his accent is real strong right now with me? Is his lane invade is the strongest in the game. He can initiate team fights by bringing himself in position, jumping over a wall, throwing his dagger with two customizing, stunning one or several sentinel, and then you can just, annihilate everyone who is around, and then he can still finish everyone off, or just jumps out again, So that's so strong. It is kind of a waste on a lane. Besides, of course, that he has such strong lane clear abilities, he sucks against towers. He doesn't have the steady DPS, and his biggest manko is that he is a short range sentinel. So this means that, anybody who once we have the chance to do a one-on-one, take your Cobra against any sentinel, long range sentinel, and I'm 100% sure that I can push you out of the lane. The thing is with Cobra, if you're on the lane, you need to win against the enemy sentinel. The enemy sentinel, however, has only to hold the lane. And this is such a big difference between priorities on the lane. If you don't win the lane if you don't win the lane, you technically lose the lane. Cobra is only at his strongest when his team is in an XP advantage, XP and his level advantage. Otherwise, he has issues. Play a Cobra when you're like 2 levels behind. This is awful. You're going in against someone who is against Vakuro, who is like at 5% health, and you're rotating your whole combination, and maybe if you're lucky she dies. I'm overdoing it, but you guys know what I mean. And that's kind of like why would you decide to go with this? You know, of course, who I always mention when I talk about split pushers. And this is, of course, Striker. Striker, and I actually didn't add him yet. I'm so sorry. But you guys just imagine. Striker has an escape skill. He has amazing sustain on the lane. He can play highly aggressive. He can trade constantly. He has burst damage. He has wave clear abilities. So he has everything you want on the lane. But Cobra? We can talk about it, but all the arguments, maybe you can write other arguments for which speaking for Cobra, but I just don't see him that strong. Of course, if he manages to get an engage and he starts wearing you down and you start dropping down, well, then you start having an issue. But nowadays, people are playing, or players are playing, too aggressively against. There is currently no lane freezing really going on. Yeah, and those techniques will come. If you play against a good team, they will execute those techniques. I mean, against a bad team, you're going to win with a strategy, of course. But you're not training to win against a bad team. You're training to win against a really good team because you want to be on number 1, in the tournament, not on number 3 or 2 maybe. You want to be number 1, right? So that's why I just disagree with Cobra. Cobra feels a little bit in the strategy, in this lineup, a little bit, okay, yeah, maybe just in case, if we get in team fight, maybe just a little bit more AoE, maybe it's a good idea. Cobra sucks against battery drones as well. And of course you don't know which map you get, but what is on the other map, the old map. Give me a tip. What is the old map named? Help me. Something with city. Empire City. Thank you. Actually, no, thank you. Nobody helped me. God damn it, guys. Where were you? So on Empire City, you have Drake. Cobra sucks against Drake too. He just doesn't have the steady DPS, or he has to get too close to Drake, which he doesn't like at all. So that's why, like I said, and Hendrik Yoda, you're completely right with saying that he has an amazing wave clear, but it's just, other clear waves as well. And let's say a Striker or Azel, they will clear the wave fast as well, but they will put down the tower faster. And your aim is not to clean the wave, but to put down the tower. Of course, he can very fast push the lane, clear it, and then switch to mid lane, for example, for a gank. Okay, but this is not a strategy. The strategy is not that the top is roaming into mid lane. No, that the strategy is that top and bot are pushing, and mid lane is roaming in form of Bulwark and Decima. And they, of course, have a good initiate engage on the lane as well. Decima has a stun. We have Bola from Bulwark. He has a gap close, which is, well, average, but it's still a gap close. So that's why Cobra is just not fitting 100%. Second thing, and this is something I'm doing out of my memory. That's why I just didn't have the time to prepare all the items and the loadouts. Cobra's loadout was with the custom items. So if you really want to play a Cobra as a lane pusher, you can't take C, the custom item. You need to take on C, the fire thing, cape. What is it called? God damn it. Names, you guys know. However, because with this C item you actually can clear a lane far faster from minions, because it will provide you steppy DPS against those minions. So, and that's why I think that Cobra wasn't the best choice. And if you develop a strategy, you need to develop everything around the strategy. It starts with items, it starts with the Sentinel choices you do, and it most certainly goes over with the choices you do, which Sentinels need to be on which line. This is super important, and you need to stick to your strategy. Now, of course, you would say, yeah, what happens if we have Hamsters of Luck and we have For Fun Team? Both teams, different strategy. For Fun Team is trying to go for the team fights, win the team fight, and then, proceed to the main objectives in the game. Hamsters of Luck are constantly split pushing, where you adjust. That's why you need to have a good strategy, not a bad strategy. Like later we saw it sadly later we saw it actually in form of Steamroller. What they were picking, those were not executing a strategy. They were really good with the double assassin strategy, which we won't have time today to talk about it, but the double assassin strategy, this is something which is really well thought through and fits their playstyle. The thing which they played in the second game was just, that wasn't good, man. That was not good at all, like at all. So we determined that I think the argument speaking against Cobra, I think just on the paper, if you put those points against each other, I think Cobra is just not the right choice. So yeah, any like other Sentinel would have been better, and I think having a Zell on top or a Striker, those are two Sentinels which are actually would have been good because they both have an escape skill, so you can actually push into the enemy line and then disengage very fast. Now I would like to talk a little bit about the Seamer pick and Bulwark pick. In the Seamer pick, remember what I said, that the strategy is about siege, but the strategy is also about split pushing. So the Seamer, I think, is an okay choice because she helps put down those towers faster and more efficiency. She provides a zone control in a siege. But if you have such a split push strategy with Breach, Cobra, or any other Sentinel on top lane, Flatline could be a very good choice as well. The reason behind this is Flatline's ulti. You can be divided on the whole map and you still can support each other. Also in form of Flatline, he can still support the side lanes. This is kind of something which is very strong as well. With his AoE, he can provide a certain zoom control as well and can impact the towers, enemy towers, faster as well. But yeah, so that could be something which is interesting, and of course it will help with the engages of Bulwark to flee and to engage more easily, the same way as For Fun team decided to do it. Now with the Zell pick, I'm perfectly fine. Of course you can take Warhead, you have options, but this is really well working. Zell is currently very strong because of her passive. She does a lot of damage to those beefy enemy sentinels, so you definitely want to have this in your lineup. But in regard to Bulwark, I'm not 100% sure if this is the right choice too. Nemesis was banned. Obviously, Nemesis I think is the most durability tank you currently have, although he lacks a little bit of engage, but he compensates quite well with the sustain he has. But I think, for example, in this lineup, Ryudo would be an amazing choice as well. You have this mobile unit of Bulwark and Decima who are going to take the objectives. And Ryudo with his lane invade, with such a long range ultimate, I think would have been a better choice, because this combination of Decima or Flatline and Ryudo is just stronger. Ryudo can go easily into the jungle, activate his shield and take down those druids far easier. If you, for example, end up with playing on Empire City, Ryudo is against the Drake a better tank because of his shield, because he can just negate any incoming damage. So I think in this composition would have made a little bit more sense and made the lineup a little bit more strong. And of course we're going then a little bit into something which of course is often played, but those Sentinels are very strong for a specific reason. So again, if you develop a strategy, make sure everything is as efficient and as good as possible. Of course, if you're a young team, maybe not everyone can play those Sentinels, but better develop a strategy from the beginning, very early on, and adjust it, improve it, than just okay, let's just try something, and we're not even giving comments in the game. On the other hand, For Fun team, I mentioned already a little bit how they could have countered this split push strategy. First choice would have been, and now we are switching them around again, Pulsar needs to go up, Cobra needs to go down. Cobra will have such a difficulty to push against Cobra and against Pulsar in such a situation. Cobra just needs somehow to stay in range of XP, even if he loses a little bit. That doesn't matter. He can just burst down those minions without any problem. Move in on battery drone, helps there as well, and has a dash to get out of the most precarious situations. And Cobra on bot lane, again, I would have switched a little bit. I think I would have most likely, and that's a little bit maybe weird. I would have most likely gone with Cobra being the roamer and Bulwark and Flatline on bot lane, as those team, I think, have so much sustain. They will not kill the lane fast as Breach does. But what happens in such situation, because they don't have so much damage output, that lane will be pushed into your own tower. So this has a negative effect that you are static at the start because you need to defend it. Also, Flatline underneath the tower can defend the tower technically for quite some time as well, but it gives you the positive aspects that actually Cobra now, who is a roamer in this game, which is his strongest, you know, this is his best doing, is suddenly free to roam, and he can invade this lane. So Breach pushes out, he will get stopped by Bulwark, who just soaks up the damage, so he will never reach the tower, gets healed up by Flatline, and suddenly, bam, Cobra from behind, slow, Bola, slow, Breach dead. Bottom line, completely open. You either leave Cobra or you move with his 3 units directly into mid and engage mid, and then you're forcing the team fights with such a play. And this is exactly what they wanted. They wanted the team fights. But they didn't adjust to a strategy. They were just, oh my god, they're pushing pop, mid, bottom, top. Oh my god, what to do now? And in these situations, take yourself back, sit down, take your hands off keyboard, off mouse, look at the game, take your 5 seconds, take your even 10 seconds, take your 20 seconds. I would even say take a freaking minute. If you come after this minute with a strategy how to counter the enemy strategy with what you have, you're still gonna win. Yeah? Very important. I think this conducts. I would love to talk about items a little bit because there were quite some mistakes, I believe, which again could have been more optimized for the strategy which they're doing, and but again, we don't have those possibilities to check out. Like, for example, if you have also another thing I remember and I know is that Bulwark didn't have the custom item on A to improve the length, the distance of his Bola shot. And that's when you have Bulwark and Flatline as a mobile unit, yeah, somewhere specifically on this side too. Both didn't take it. Both were with the energy regeneration. That's a mistake. It's something you don't want to do, because if you have like this unit and this is a plan to be more efficient, be mobile, engage into lanes and take out the side objectives, then you need to have this, because it just fits the strategy. If you just Bulwark as just a tank to soak up damage, well, then you don't need it, obviously. Good. So I think that's it. We are already more than half an hour, so I don't want to do it too long. So I think that conducts our first episodes. Now we're doing open question. We're taking all the question in which you guys want to talk about. Do you have feedback? Do you think that's stupid what I'm saying? Do you agree? What's the situation in the chat? You can have, of course, any other questions, anything you wanted ever to ask about my opinion or in regards to Shards of War. Shoot now! Give me everything. It is not a mistake to take. Okay, the Panda is asking why is it a mistake to take energy on Bulwark? It is not a mistake. I think I would love to play with energy on Bulwark, because it gives you so much more you can do in this moment. But in a strategy where Bulwark is supposed to be roamer with the Seamer, you need to make him as effective as possible. And of course, you could say without energy he's ineffective. That's true, but you can, work around that in future with execute, which gives you energy back. You can work around with the C item on the supporter biolink, which will give you energy back. You can work around it with porting back your mobile unit, so you have the possibility to port back. You can go use the medkits and stuff like that, so you can kind of be okay with your energy. But the Bola makes you more efficient in the role the strategy sees you. So if you're a roamer, a ganker, the increased bola shot, the improved bola shot is something which fits better in the strategy, and that's why you should make the decision to take the bola shot instead of the energy. It's not per se bad, but in this strategy it is more efficient, it would be more efficient to take the bola. Good. Hendrik Jura. What do you think about picking Ryudo instead of Cobra on Hamsters of Luck side? Yes. Well, yes and no. Ryudo, then I think, like, in general, Ryudo is a fantastic pick, and I'm completely agreeing if you want to exchange Bulwark for Ryudo. But in the common situation, Cobra would be not a good. Also Ryudo would be not a good exchange for Cobra, because the idea is for the split pushes, not team fights, not combo wombo, but the split pushing. You want to go for the towers for the main objectives. So if you exchange Cobra for Ryudo, your team is kind of a little bit more determined in the direction of team fights. You know, like, because you have Bulwark and you have Ryudo, so you have a lot of sustain, but you're losing pushing power. So that's why I don't think that in this specific situation, Ryudo is not a good exchange for Cobra, but he is a good exchange for Bulwark. Raider is asking, Gemini is not picked in competitive. Why? That's actually something I actually was thinking to have as a topic today, to talk about Gemini, because we had actually a game where Gemini was picked of one of the younger teams, and she did actually quite well. The reason why Gemini is not picked as a support, because she lacks a little bit. She doesn't have this power ability. Her skill set is very strong in general. You can do a lot with her, but the problem is that every aspect which you want to do with her requires a high skill cap with her. So if you want to land the stun correctly and make it really efficient, like against several Sentinel, against the whole team, you need to position yourself like really awesomely. You need to time it really awesomely. If you want to slow someone, you need to hit those skill shots. If you want to block incoming damage from someone, you need to place your drone very well in the right spot. Your heal is a hot heal over time, which needs to be placed very in the right timing as well, otherwise it's useless. You can't just, flatline is just 5%. He nuke. He's good again, he's alive. And so I think that's a big issue. And competitive plays are usually on a very high skill level. And so it's very hectic, it's very stressful. And I think the amount of skill you need with Gemini is not really compensated for what she can achieve with it. She is not stronger than other supporters, but she's definitely more difficult to play, and that's something which speaks against Gemini. We had her on the tournament one time, and she did actually really good. I was quite impressed. She was actually blocking, using her drones very well to block off incoming damage, and the player itself made some mistakes, so in the end, I think, I'm not sure if they won or lost. But little things. But like I said, she is not stronger than other supporters, but she's more difficult to play, and I think this is a conclusion why Gemini is rather not picked in competitive plays. Okay. Gemini will be buffed. Let's see what exactly they're planning to do. I think they will, if they just make her a little bit stronger, then she will have a comeback, because like if she's really difficult to play, but she has, if you play her correctly, have really high impact on the game, where then there is a balance. It's okay, high risk, high reward. Okay, so coming back, Hendrik Jura, to your question about the Ryudo pick, to exchange Cobra for Ryudo, and he's saying you would go 4 versus 4 team fights then with breach pushing. But this is not the case, always. The thing is, ideally, theoretically, yes, breach is side pushing, and someone needs to defend against it. But in this situation, it could be very likely that actually they say, okay, screw the breach side push, we want the team fight 5 versus 4. Yeah, so they will search for it. Second, so this speaks then against the damage output. Also, like, No, I need to say it differently. I think why I'm against exchanging Ryudo for Cobra is just the fact that the strategy is for split pushing, the strategy is for taking towers. This is the strategy. The strategy is not team fight. And Ryudo again is a team fight character. If you have him on top lane, he can switch into mid lane, but he is a crappy laner. He can't really protect his lane really well. He is even worse than Cobra. Yeah, so Cobra is not that bad, but he's really bad on a lane, and this is kind of where you put him. So again, Bulwark exchange for Ryudo, yes. Cobra exchange for Ryudo. In this particular situation, no. Would be wrong. What do I think? Radar 105 is asking, what do you think about Bastion? I think Bastion is pretty awesome, pretty fun to play. We do not see him so many times in competitive play because he can be counterplayed rather easily. Again, he needs to position himself. I'm so sorry. Position himself. Let's drink a little bit more so I can barf again. He needs to position himself constantly in the fog of war. His engage is not as strong as Ryudo's, although it's not his ultimate, but in the end you need one good engage, not 15. He has sustain, but the gap closer is kind of a bitch. So I think Bastion is awesome and super fun to play, and in pub games you can pull him off very easily, and if you play him right, he never dies. That's perfect. But you want, with a tank, you just want to have the impact which other Sentinels, they have bigger. They can provide a bigger impact. I think that's just the reason why we don't see him so many times to be picked. On paper, Bastion is Imba, is completely overpowered. On paper, he has a slow, he has a AoE gap closer. On a normal skill, he has crazy sustain. He can heal himself up while being mobile. He has AoE, big AoE stun on his ultimate. But again, on paper it sounds awesome, but in the game executing all those things is very difficult, and it's just easier with other Sentinels to have a big impact without being so difficult. Like Ryudo, press R in the right direction and win, technically. And Bastion is more like, okay, prepare, start channeling your engage early enough so you know where they are, then you need to jump, and the flight is kind of slow, so you know they can disengage, and then you need to stun, and then you need to position, and then you need so that's the issue. So he's awesome, but in competitive play he's just like a little bit like Gemini, I believe, more difficult to be played and executed well. And next question from Rider 105, and Vulcan and Rhino are good picks. It's actually quite curious, because Rhino was played in the beginning very often, and he was like one of the standard picks, and he was one of even sometimes a ban was because of his ultimate, and because he has the engage, he has his stun on low cooldown, he has a lot of sustain if he is, but he is a little bit out of fashion currently, I believe, because again there are other Sentinels which just can do what he can and be more efficient about it. Again, the call for Nemesis in regards to sustain, Bulwark in regards for AoE stun. Bulwark's AoE is just bigger than Rhino's. Gap closer is Ryudo again, stronger. So that's a little bit the tricky part, and he has a rather small attack range as well, which of course is not really important for a tank, but his sustain comes from being capable of dealing damage out with auto attacks, and this is rather difficult to execute with him. So he's not a bad pick, he's a good pick, but they're just Sentinels which are better in the aspect you want him. If you want him for sustain, again, Nemesis. If you want him for engage, Ryudo. If you want him for AoE stun, CC, Bulwark is better. And Vulcan. Yeah, Vulcan is tricky. Vulcan can be, in the right constellation, can be a very powerful Sentinel, but you need to have the right strategy around him, and you need to have the right team around him. He's an amazing jungler. He can take Drake on one-on-one. So if you build a team around this aspect, for example, you know, like with Vulcan being one of the key Sentinels, you can completely force the push on bot lane, and he does top lane Drake alone. This, for example, would be a good strategy. And if he gets countered, you will get bot lane, you know. So you can invade the jungle very strongly. So if you push the lanes like crazy with sentinels and you just give him the opportunity to get into the enemy jungle, then two possibilities: either he will take the drones from the enemy jungle as success, or he will die. But if he dies, someone has to go there to kill him. And one sentinel is rather difficult. In 1-1 Vulcan, he's a beast. So if he invades the jungle, they counter him with two sentinels. These two sentinels will miss somewhere on the lanes. So bam, you have a strategy again. So yes, he can be good, but again, but he needs the right environment around him. The skin ticket raffle will be directly after we finish this episode today, and it will be very soon. We won't do long anymore. I think we reached nearly 1 hour, and that's perfect. And I agree with Hendrik Jura that Bastion is rather difficult to be executed in a surprise way. In competitive, in pub it works out, but in competitive it's very difficult. Raider, what about Blitz? What happened to him? Now that's a question I'm not sure how to answer. Maybe the fact that the silence isn't that important anymore. Blitz was always played for his, well, okay, Blitz has a good lane clear ability, but others have stronger. The lane clear, let's say, burst ability, I think, for example, again, I think it's again a situation where others are just stronger, and Blitz was always played because he was providing the necessary silence. So we had in the past those teams, a lot of those teams with a combo vombo, which aren't played as much anymore. And I think this is one of the reasons why he's just not picked, because his silence was so powerful to completely mess up with the timings of the enemy. Once we see more patches again, more Valkyries again, more those kind of things, I think maybe he will start having a comeback. That is kind of, I think that could be, yeah. That's what I think. Because, for example, if you want to burst damage, I think there are other Sentinel which are stronger. Pulsar is introduced. We have Valkyrie, we have Cobra, we have a lot which have even sometimes either bigger burst or bigger range. His silence is the only trigger which really makes him really special. He was of course nerfed, but that I think is not the reason why he's not picked so often. I think the meta just changed into a direction which didn't favor Blitz at the current point, because you don't need his silence so much. Well, Calibre is a strong Sentinel in pub games. She is too weak in competitive. I know that people want to play her. Her AoE can be devastating, silent, but she alone can't really force anybody to stand in this AoE. I need to place it perfectly to have like a 1 second silence, while Blitz just clicks on someone and then you have 1.5, 2 seconds, something like that. So she just pops. So, you know, like people in pub games, you engage with your ultimate, everyone runs. In competitive games, she engages with her ultimate, you just start shooting her. It's like or silence or stun or whatever. Yeah, so Calibre is awesome. It's a double B, boobs and butts. I love her. But yeah, she is sadly not. I love to play her. I want to play her more, but she just doesn't have a nice flow. She have one engage, you're not getting out of her. If she has like a mechanic like Rev currently has, she would be so much more awesome. Jeez, yeah. But yeah. Riders 105. One more question is saying: is Vox one of the best tanks in the game? Well, she was for a very long time. She is pretty good. I'm actually currently will start in the next days working on a new tier list for all Sentinels. So you see, you know, in specific categories each Sentinel how they are ranked. So you actually all the question will be answered there. I can't give you right now an answer. I wouldn't say the best. I don't know. It depends on what you need her for. Like she's a very balanced mix. So I think she is best in a situation where she is an off tank. She can be paired with another off tank like Ryudo. She can be paired with a main tank like Nemesis or Bulwark. But I think she's strongest in a situation where she's paired with an off tank who can provide her, you know, like easier going into the enemy mid. Good. So we're, I think, how much more time? I think it's like we started at 16, so it's like we have like 4 minutes and we have the hour nearly on the spot. So if there are more questions, just shoot away. We're gonna answer, let's say, as much as we have time. I think the next 3 questions maybe we can put in, and then we're gonna be starting with a ticket raffle for you guys, because you totally deserve it. And for that purpose, we're actually going to switch already.
Because winners are sexy.
Oh wait, sorry guys.